Welcome, beautiful people. Welcome to the Mrs. Best Reviews channel. I am Mrs. Best, and we are here to go over Bravo's show, The Valley. This episode was titled Snip Snip. It was season 3, episode 2. We get a little bit of a slow start to The Valley, y'all, but I enjoy The Valley. This is like my chance to cover Vanderpump Rules in my brain, the original series, because a lot of the people from that show are on here. And my channel did not exist at that time. So I'm happy that The Valley is back. It's giving a lot more than the Valley Persian style gave. The Valley Persian style was so bad that midway through the season, I had to tell James, like, just stop wasting your time. Just stop wasting your time. I'm going to just pre-record it. That's how bad Persian style was. Hi, DM Rocks. I hope you are having a very good Thursday. Hey, Janet's fake apology. I know. And I'm actually glad that you came in and started with that, because I was watching that and I was like, how many people will catch how inauthentic that apology was? I just cannot with Janet. She literally represents everything you learn about the people who turn into like serial killers and sociopaths when you're studying psych. Janet is a lot. But before we get into the episode of discussing Janet, because there's going to be a lot of her this episode, I want to encourage everyone, see the links in the description of this video. If you're looking for other content creators, there are several great ones in the description, as well as James from Watch Your Mouth Reviews, who usually covers The Valley with us. He may be back next week, but I will be on his channel for all of his lives. So tap in. Also, a big welcome to all of our new subscribers. I'm just 10 away from 800. I'm very close to monetization. Welcome in. I hope you guys enjoyed the content. Never be afraid to make suggestions. 9 times out of 10, I take y'all up on your suggestions. I absolutely do, because that is how you grow, listening to the people. But yeah, this Janet about to lie to us this whole episode. DM Rock said Nia's face said it all. I bet she wanted to say, yep. She wanted to say F your apology and your couch and read her for filth. But I think Nia knows with Janet, she'll just play the Karen that she is and play victim. That's why I was not mad at Jasmine's comment saying that Janet was acting like a Karen, because that's exactly how she was acting. But Janet gives me someone who watches Bravo and only watches the colorless aspects of Bravo and doesn't understand like the world because of that. Like there's so much more to it. But we start this episode with Luke trying to plan a date night for himself and Kristen. Kristen just had a baby. I believe their baby's like 2-3 months. Her unicorn or rainbow baby, whatever you call the childs that you didn't think you would have. But I think any woman watching this can see that it's very clear that Kristen is struggling with postpartum. I understand the concern of having to leave your kid with a sitter or put your kid in daycare, but eventually you're going to have to do it. Sometimes postpartum shows in people not wanting to let go of their kids or her fear of sex. She says that a human just came out of her vagina and the idea of sex doesn't excite her. And I believe it. If a whole person came out my coochie and I'm looking at that person every day while that person's sucking on my titties and all types of stuff, I wouldn't be the most turned on either until my man was, as this episode is titled, Snip Snip, because I wouldn't want to do that again. But I did like how Luke handled it. He stayed pretty calm and he reminded Kristen, like, remember, happy parents make happy babies. And their baby does seem hella fussy compared to like Adelaide, who's less fussy. I used to work in daycare. 3 months is usually the age that we start to take them in. And Kristen and Nia's kid is 3 months. Kristen's is like a whiny baby, but that is common in first-time moms. But it's also common for people to develop what's known as an insecure attachment between them and their kid, which is when your kid's basically feeding off of your stress and depression and things like that. So I hope that Kristen gets and seeks some postpartum help, because her hormones is going through a lot. God bless her. I hope that her and Luke figure it out, and it looks like he's patient enough. So I'm sure they'll be okay. Now, we then get to see Brittany, who I like to remind everybody at any moment when watching The Valley, I do not like Brittany. I don't buy Brittany's cute country girl thing. I don't care about her sparkle. I don't care about Brittany. I think she's a gold digger redneck, if I'm being honest. And I know that sounds harsh, But the reason I feel that way is because Brittany likes to cry about the shit she went through with Jax. Now Jax is not on TV. She is still talking about Jax in almost every scene that comes up with her. She still has not taken accountability at all for anything that she's done with her friends. I just don't care for Brittany. I feel like she got with Jax hoping for fame and television, because if anybody watched Vanderpump Rules back when Brittany and Jax got together, you know that she probably should have ran. She probably should have. I'm cracking up at Shayna. Shayna said, I don't know what's going on, but I'm listening. These colorless people be acting a fool, Shayna. It's, you don't really need to know what's going on. These colorless people, I don't know why I picked up this show. I picked up this show because I loved the show that they were on before. But some of these people like Janet drive me crazy. But Brittany has Zach over her house. She's still in the house she shared with Jax after the divorce. Well, they're not divorced. They are still not divorced. But her son is autistic. He's on the spectrum, and he's moderately autistic, I believe. It's nice to see her son making more efforts to say words. Like he said Zach's name and greeted him. And she gave her son a room full of sensory tools that are built to help kids with autism center themselves and kind of process their emotions. I thought that was the most thoughtful thing she could have done for her child, especially if you have and are the parent of a child with special needs. If you have the means, then do everything you can for your kid so that they'll be okay. So it's nice to see Brittany and her son Cruz like stable. Like, I'm all for kids being stable. But Zach decides to discuss Benji, the boy that he's dating, who is, I don't even know what to call Benji. It doesn't seem like Benji has his citizenship. And I'm kind of like, run, Benji. I know in California we have different laws as it relates to ICE, but they don't follow the rules. Like, you might not want to be on television if your status in the United States is a question mark. Doesn't seem like the smartest thing to do, but Benji is about to apply for a different type of visa so that he could stay in California. And I just feel like Zach likes to have an opinion with everybody else on what they should do about their relationships and stuff. But I don't see anybody giving Zach an honest opinion, because I'm pretty sure everybody feels like, why are you doing all of this with and for a man that don't even got citizenship, that wasn't really wanting to deal with you because of his citizenship, but now is willing to deal with you, even though his citizenship has not been resolved. In addition to that, y'all want an open relationship, so you still sleep with other people, but you trying to tell us you in love? When you're actually in love, you don't want an open relationship, and nobody can make me feel differently. Nobody can make me feel differently. I don't feel like Zach and Benji are going to work out, but if Zach dates in such a delusional way, he's absolutely good for TV. That's all I can say. Now, Zach decides he's going to bring up Brittany's new man, Brandon, who I don't think she's with anymore, but it was very controversial when she got with him because they went and took a trip to Mexico together. And then we learned that Brandon has all of these baby mamas and he's in the process of divorcing one of them. And she was trying to allege that Brittany was problematic. So I'm sure Zach saw all of that and was like, Brittany, are you sure you're not moving too fast? And Zach points out the red flags, especially the one about this man having 2 baby mamas and 3 kids, and the fact that he doesn't live in LA. People not from California who haven't been here. Los Angeles, the city, huge. The county, bigger. So a man that don't live in LA is likely in Orange County, San Bernardino County, or he could be somewhere else entirely different. But either way, he's far. He's far. He could be doing God knows what with God knows who. So I do feel like some of what Zach pointed out was important for Brittany to hear. But Brittany is like, this is totally different from Jack's. This is totally different. I wouldn't even say that. I'm not looking for nothing too serious. You're not looking for nothing too serious. Like, you found a sitter for your child so that you could travel to another country with this man. And I don't feel like the man being married is a problem, because Brittany is also still married, but I don't really care to see anybody Brittany dates until she figures herself out. But I'm happy to see her son stable. That's my positive. We get to a birthday party for Lala, or not Lala, but her daughter Sosa. She cannot show her first daughter Ocean on this show. I believe it has something to do with the co-parenting agreement between Lala and Randall. But Lala, if you're going to be on this show, why don't you talk about the scandal that is Randall? Because Randall is finding and going through a scandal allegedly that proves that he is allegedly just like that Harvey Weinstein scandal. But lots of people come to this event for Lala. Lala bought a beautiful home in Sherman Oaks. I think that's good for her. And we see the whole cast. Janet is nervous to see everyone because she's kind of screwed everyone over and everyone is done with her. And Janet is still kind of standing 10 tones down in her statements and the things that caused her to have issues with the group. And then issuing these fake apologies and trying to manipulate people by making them think that she's changed just because she's in therapy. Again, therapy do not work that fast. So I feel like, Janet, if you don't go somewhere with this BS, girl, if you don't go somewhere. But Brittany tells Kristen that she felt like Zach was hard on her when grilling her about her new boyfriend. And I don't know. Get over it, Brittany. Like, if you don't take this man seriously and you say you're just trying to date or have fun, then why the fuck do you give a crap about your friend's opinion of him? If it's not that serious and you just sitting on it, then say that and act like it. Like, this is why I don't like Brittany, because she's wishy-washy. She's messy with friends. She never wants to be accountable when she does something wrong. And she kind of makes everything about her. So I'm going to digress. But nothing goes anywhere with the Brittany complaining about Zach. We do get to see Janet have a chat with Jasmine. Now, Janet and Jasmine were very close as friends for a long time. We learned that last season. And Jasmine started to get sick of Janet because Janet was pushing rumors around, spreading stuff about Danny that wasn't current, that had happened off camera and stuff. Janet was changing her mind and acting like she didn't get apologies about stuff that Danny had already apologized for. And everyone at some point had to call her out. So Jasmine got sick of Janet and they couldn't seem to make peace. And that's when we see that Jasmine referred to her as a Karen in her behavior. And, you know, Janet goes up to Jasmine, which makes sense because they have history. And Janet says that things between her and Jasmine have not been great. And Janet apologizes again to Jasmine for why things are not great. And Jasmine says to her, she was like, you know, I appreciate the apology, but this is not the time and place for you and me to have this discussion, because all that happened and the type of friendship they had, Jasmine said that they need to have a bigger conversation to really address things, but that it wasn't the place at this party. So what does Janet do? This long, narrow bitch decides to ignore all of that and the fact that this is not a birthday party for an adult, but a children's birthday party, and continue to talk about it. Janet says to Jasmine, well, don't you feel like, you know, you calling me a Karen on the beach? Like, don't you feel you should apologize for that? Leave it to a Karen for demanding a Black person rescind their statement and apologize for calling her a Karen. You were acting like a Karen. Are you going to go and rescind your statements and apologize, Janet? Or are you just going to say sorry because you're wanting other people to say sorry to you so that you can feel like you have a reason to have been upset instead of just being a raging, messy bitch? I don't like Janet. I don't like the way she moves. She does give privileged Karen. And I feel like her only excuse for not being a privileged Karen would be the same as Dorit Kemsley over on Housewives of Beverly Hills. Well, I know Black people has probably been the help. Like, go straight to hell, Janet. But Jasmine looks at her and is like, just kind of ignores the statement. And I think Jasmine handled it correctly, because it's like, Janet, nobody has time. As Jasmine said, Janet is Janeting. The fact that she cannot see any of this lets me know that she needs more than a therapist. She needs a psychiatrist. She needs help. And I feel for her. I'm glad she had a son, because bitches like Janet that produce daughters, nope. We do not need two of you on the planet, Janet. I'm sorry. We just don't. But shout out to our replay gang, you guys. I'm sorry it took so long for me to acknowledge y'all in the video. I appreciate everybody who watches when we are no longer live. It really does mean the world. Also, happy 3 years to the Mrs. Best Reviews channel. This week is the 3-year anniversary that this channel has existed. In just 3 years, I'm already more than halfway to 1,000. They say it can take like 3 to 5 years to get there, and that's because of y'all. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you to everyone that supports the channel. You really do make me smile. So we're still at Sosa's birthday party. This child really does look just like Luke. It's creepy. But Lala facilitates a talk between Janet and Nia. And Janet says that she's willing to listen to Nia if she has anything to say when she goes up to her. And Nia just kind of looked at her and was like, okay, thanks. And Janet says that she needs to apologize to Nia again for using words that hurt her. But Janet also said that she cannot get into and be okay with Nia defending her husband's behavior that he has already apologized for and has not repeated. So Janet, you still have not learned your lesson because you are still reminding people and pushing the narrative of this bad behavior with Danny when they have 3 kids under 3, and Danny may have drank a little more than he should have, but he apologized, he was accountable, and he has not repeated the behavior. So like, why does Janet seem insistent on Nia acknowledging it? Nia's already acknowledged that the behavior wasn't good. She was trying to tell your dumbass, Janet, that her husband has apologized for it. And because he's done that, there's no reason for you to keep bringing it up. But Janet does not view it that way. For some reason, she thinks that Nia needs to not defend her husband. But Janet, your husband's defending you and you're literally acting like the spawn of Satan. So why is it okay for your husband to defend you, but nobody else can defend their husband or wife? Why is it just you? You privileged, nasty, messy bitch. That is the problem. Karen with a capital K. A capital K. And you know, she thinks that Karen means racist. Karen means privilege. You can be privileged without being racist. I live in California. There's a lot of privileged, snooty, colorless people here who don't have an issue with nobody based on race. They just may not like you if your income can't match theirs. But the fact that Janet's mind goes straight to racism lets me know that she might be a little bit like that. But I just don't care for her at all. I think she's delusional and she's setting herself up for a bad season furthermore. And I don't think Janet has connected the fact that the things that she said and did last season were damaging, disparaging, and dangerous, and things that people don't forgive you over. Like, you don't just make peace with people after every little thing. If you get into an argument and it goes one direction and it's over something small, fine. But once you get into it with people and you talk about their husband and you allege that they have improper sexual conduct and you allege that they have a substance use or alcohol problem, that's unforgivable. Even if you make peace and Nia accepts her apology, people can accept an apology and choose to move on from dealing with you in their life. And I feel like Janet is not understanding that. I feel like Nia and them have accepted her apology, but they don't have shit for her. In the words of DM Rock's comment, Nia Space said it all. She wanted to say F your apology, but to say fucking apology, you have to care about it. And I don't think Nia cared enough. Just saying. So I love that Nia paid her nothing, but if Janet spends this whole season trying to get back cool with the group, I will be so satisfied because the bitch should never be allowed to feel comfortable again. And no shade, Janet being close friends with Sheena and then Sheena not being welcome back on the show after Sheena was a major focal point in the storyline and the issues with Janet last season. It just seems like anybody affiliated with her ain't gonna have much success on the show either. So, you know, it is what it is, Miss Janet. But there's a scene after Lala's daughter's party with Zach and Jesse, just kind of discussing things. I like the friendship that Zach and Jesse are building. I also like that Zach is a person that can get along with everybody. I love my gays that move like that. Shout out to James from the Watch About the Views channel, because he is someone part of that community who kind of moves like Zach. He got friends that's married. He got friends that's straight. He got friends that's bi, rich, poor, all of that. And he moves around and gets along with all of them. I like people like that. I enjoy it heavily. But I'm sorry, y'all, aside from that cafe y'all was sitting in looking like you were actually on an airplane, there was nothing interesting with that scene. They could have kept it. I don't need to see grown men gossiping like little girls. I just don't. We see Jesse go out to eat with his new girlfriend, Lola. And I said, Jesse, what are you doing with this girl? Are you just with her because of what she has? Because Michelle looked better, as quiet as it's kept. Michelle looked better. Michelle actually seemed interested in Jesse. It seems like they had a legit relationship at one time. And I just feel like Jesse's rushing into something different to make Michelle jealous or something. But I still want to know why he's holding up that divorce. They should have been divorced by now. Jesse and Michelle have been getting a divorce since this show started. And it seems like all lines point to Jesse when it comes to what's holding the divorce up, because Michelle has said she wants nothing and will take nothing in the divorce. And he still won't sign the papers. I don't understand it. But Jessie has a new girlfriend. She lives in Newport Beach, which is in Orange County. Very, very rich zip code. Quiet as it's kept, 90210. That is not the richest zip code in California at all. The richest zip code is actually up north, not far from where I live. But a lot of people seem to think that of LA. Honestly, a lot of the good money is in Orange County. But his girlfriend lives in Orange County. She just went through a divorce as well. She says she got out of her divorce and found Jesse. She does not seem interested in Jesse, and it seems like she did extremely well in her divorce. So she was obviously married to a baller. I said, you was married to somebody with money to go to Jesse? Have you not watched the show and what Michelle said about his finances? I don't know what you're doing, boo, but okay. So she's obviously dealing with Jesse because she wants to, or to be on TV, because she doesn't need Jesse for income. And I found it interesting because she said that she has a daughter from her previous marriage, and she said that she will not be moving any man into her home that she shares with her daughter until her daughter is at least a teenager, which I think is smart. I wouldn't want nobody to live in a house with my child until my child can speak up if they need to speak up for themselves. I respect her for that part. But I did find it weird that Lola froze her eggs, and Jesse's like, we froze our eggs. She's like, not we, me, in case I want another baby someday. So it's like, he can't move in. You don't want him to think that you freezing your eggs means you could have a child with him one day. He talked about wanting to move next to her or renting a property that's like in her neighborhood. And she said on national TV about her man, well, do you think you could afford that? Why do you live in this rich neighborhood, ma'am, if you're going to get at the man that you have for whether he could afford to live in your neighborhood? Like, why are you dating? Like, it just does not make sense. And I'm a person that believes like you should try and date someone that's within your income bracket. I know that doesn't always happen, but I have a feeling that her divorce settlement says she can't move somebody in the house, or if she gets with somebody or moves someone in, that she probably can't get her alimony or something, which is very common amongst the rich in California. And I feel like that's probably why she doesn't want him in there. But I also feel like Jesse's being used, and like this woman is dealing with him for the show. And I can see how gay and goofy he is, but then I also kind of feel like he is with her because he thought that he could use her, because why be with a woman if you're not interested in divorcing your ex? I feel like Jesse's fighting in court the debt that he accumulated. I think he wants some of that debt to go to Michelle. Michelle has come to a judge and said, I don't want anything from him. So if this continues to be held up in the Superior Court of California docket, it is on him. Because if you hold up the courts in California long enough, they will. There's something, I can't remember what it's called. One of my cousins is an attorney and told me about it, but there's like a form that can be filled out to say like, you can't just file a court case. You can't just like, they'll ignore you pretty much. So we'll see what happens with that. But I think the worst part of meeting Jesse's girlfriend was he kept saying to her, I love you. And she kept thanking him. If someone says, I love you, if I say to my husband, I love you, Josiah, and he responds, thank you, I guess he don't love me back. Jesse said he loved this girl over and over, and you could tell he was fishing for her to say, I love you too. And she just kept saying, thanks, babe. This shit ain't gonna last. I don't know why she's on TV. I don't know what Jesse is doing, but she does come off as loony. She does come off as off. And I feel like they're either both using each other for something, or Honestly, I feel like they're both using each other for something outside of sex, because yeah, I'm just not seeing it. I'm just not seeing it. And I don't think Jesse's over Michelle. Just because someone moves on doesn't mean that they've actually moved on. Why do I think that? Because we're only in season 3 of The Valley. At the end of season 1 of The Valley, this man was going off to do ayahuasca, crying because he wanted to find a way to get connected emotionally to save his marriage. I think Jesse's a big doofus, but I don't think he ever fell out of love with Michelle. I think she fell out of love with him, and I think that's hard for him to grasp. And so I think he's doing everything he can to like make the divorce take longer, because it does seem like in his mind he may think he can win Michelle back, but brother, she's done, and this chick don't want you either. So move on. This is sad. This is sad to watch. Now we see a sign. Speaking of Michelle, we see a scene of Tom Schwartz and Michelle, who've been kind of flirting. They go to do a sound bath together. The only thing I got from this scene is it made me ask my husband, can we go do a sound bath? Because I'll be watching them, falling asleep to them sometimes on YouTube. They're very peaceful. I've done one years and years ago, actually, before I met my husband. Never did another sound bath, and that was like 20 years ago. So I would love to do another one. It looked peaceful. They got to know each other a little bit better. We learned that Michelle was fun and has a past, but I like the friendship she's building with Schwartz, because when we see Michelle around Brittany and Janet, she's shallow and not likable. I think it's because Brittany and Janet are that way. And then when we see her around everyone else on the cast, she's kind of too quiet. But it seems like when she's around Schwartz, she opens up a little more, which shows like, okay, she has a personality, she has a past, she has all these things, but we get a little more Michelle when she's around Tom Schwartz versus when she's around some of the other cast members. So I appreciated that scene for this reason. That is the only reason that I appreciated that scene. Now, at one point in the episode, I didn't really talk about it. We do see Danny go to a doctor to get not get a vasectomy, but he goes to get a consultation for a vasectomy because Nia made him an appointment. They have 4 kids under the age of 5 years old. They need to blink once if they need help. Anybody who is a fan of them needs to be submitting resumes, fingerprints, and background checks to help them babysit. I mean, they have a lot going on. They also just moved to Santa Clarita, which without traffic, it's 30 minutes from LA. With traffic, you're looking at 2 hours just to get to Los Angeles, let alone the Valley, which is much longer. And it may not be the biggest distance, but there's so many cars and people in LA, especially stupid people not from California who act like they don't know how to drive when they see a mountain or a curve on the freeway, because we're a very hilly state. So when you have people move here from the South, or when you have people move here from the Midwest and places where y'all don't have mountains, they don't know how to fuck the drive on the road. And that's part of why California traffic's so bad, because we're a state made up of people from everywhere else. You know, there's some locals here, but we avoid y'all gentrifiers. We do. But Nia and Danny talk about him going to see the doctor about the vasectomy, and he explains that he's got to heal, and before the vasectomy goes into effect, he has to ejaculate 35 times. So Danny's dumbass is just like, I got a schedule so that I could use you to do this. He's so excited about it because she's going to have to put out basically for him to not put children inside of her. But during this conversation, Nia speaks about how she's been struggling being postpartum, and she feels like it would be helpful for her to live closer to Kristen. She's also spoken about the fact that on her already long commute, because she's breastfeeding and she can't get little Adelaide to take a bottle as easy as she had other babies take one. So she's having to pull over on the side of the road and shit in traffic to breastfeed her child. She said to Danny, she said, the baby was crying. I was crying. I'm looking at traffic and seeing other people crying. She's just, having a hard time. And then that added commute is worse. They do have a great house, but honestly, what they're expressing is a sacrifice that a lot of Californians make in the Bay Area when people want to own a home, because it's over $1 million here for a 1-bedroom house in the hood. People will look towards the Central Valley, towards Stockton, Merced, Modesto, Sacramento. They'll look towards cheaper areas to own a house and then commute to the areas where the jobs are, such as the San Francisco Bay Area, Sacramento, or Los Angeles County. You know, in LA, people move to Santa Clarita, or they go to San Fernando Valley, or they go to San Bernardino Valley and things like that. And now it's getting to where it's expensive in those valleys. So I understand Danny and Nia for why they bought their house, but I do also empathize and understand the struggles they're going through. I did not like how she was trying to vent about postpartum. And this fool mentioned a love-making schedule for the calendar. It's like, men are slow. Like for him, he's like, fourth kid, you know, it's a lot, but we've got the house, so he's good. But the woman is always going to experience more. For Nia, it's more than just, we needed more space. Like the commute did matter to her. I feel like they could have found a house in the valley, but it is cheaper to be in Santa Clarita. But they probably could have found a house cheaper. They probably could have found a house in the valley, but they would have had to spend a lot of money. So I think they made the best decision for themselves financially. Just because you're on a show doesn't mean you need to go and buy the biggest house that you could find in the nicest area, because that show may not be around years later. And the Vanderpump Rules cast can attest to that. They can attest to that. Sheena brought a house in the valley just to not be included on the show The Valley. So you can't just depend on TV as your bread and butter. But I hope that he wakes up and starts to support his wife further. I think that Danny gets criticized a lot for how he reacts in response to his wife as a husband, because he's one of the few husbands on this show that we see with their wife. We only see Janet and Jason when they're at a group event or couples event. Other than that, we never see Jason really at home just helping with the baby. You know, Luke and Kristen are not married yet and figuring stuff out, but Luke be traveling. You know, everybody has different situations, but Danny seems to be the one that's most present in his kids and his family's life. So while he could have been a little more sensitive to the postpartum complaints of his wife, I think he's providing a good life for his kids and stuff, and that's enough. I encourage Nia and every other woman, my clients, everyone I know, to look into postpartum support groups. Contact your primary care provider, your doctor. If you talk to them about postpartum, they can put you in contact with people. If you have a case manager or know anyone who's a social worker, talk with them. Sometimes they can put forward and speed up like prior authorizations on getting that mental health or behavioral care assistance, but don't just sit and stew in it and suffer. So I hope that Nia and Kristen are able to get the help that they need. But at least they have each other as friends to support each other when the men are a little slow, because Luke wants some coochie and Danny seems to be grieving his sperm right now, the way he's acting. So, you know, we will leave it there. The sun just went down. My goodness. I've been doing all this on natural light today. But that was it, you guys, for what happened in this episode of The Valley. I do appreciate everybody who tunes in and supports the channel. Beautiful people, the next things that I will have going on my channel will be another live tomorrow. I'll be going over the Housewives of Beverly Hills. The Housewives of Beverly Hills just announced and revealed their tremendously terrible reunion looks. I'm going to tell y'all off bat, the only person who looked good at the reunion was Jennifer Tilly. Everyone else looked terrible and regular and like they are members of the Mormon church. That is not a good thing. Go see my Mormon Surviving Mormonism documentary. But we will be going over the reunion looks for Housewives of Beverly Hills on Saturday on the Watch Your Mouth Reviews channel. The link to the Watch Your Mouth Reviews channel is in the description of this video. We will also be going over Bell Collective Birmingham, as well as the original flagship Bell Collective that is in Mississippi. And I believe on Saturday, I will also be on that channel to go over Love and Marriage Huntsville. Let me know if you guys are watching the Netflix show Age of Attraction. It is a show that I have been watching and am considering doing a recap video for. I don't want to do it episode by episode, but I definitely want to go live and discuss that show. Other than that, you guys, I'll post the weekly schedule for what we'll be covering next week. Let me know if there's anything that you guys would like to see covered on the Mrs. Best Reviews channel. I am always open to suggestions. Just DM, email, or leave a comment, whatever works for you. But other than that, I hope everybody enjoys their Thursday. If this is the only video you watch on my channel, I hope you have a good weekend. We'll be back next week, and I'll see everybody later. Au revoir.